Here comes Bernie. Another new poll out from CNN shows that Bernie Sanders would actually do really well against his Republican opponents if a general election were held today. Now, let's look at some of the poll results from this CNN poll. Now, in a hypothetical mashup between Bernie Sanders and Jeb Bush, Sanders would win or tie Jeb Bush. So that's his biggest rival right there. It would be 48 to 47. Of course, there is that 1% margin of error, so he either ties or loses to Jeb Bush by 1 point so far. Wow, that's really, really close. Okay, well, how does he fare against some of the other frontrunners? Well, Bernie Sanders in a hypothetical matchup with Scott Walker, Bernie Sanders pulls out with 48%, Walker with 42%. Now, I'm sure everybody's asking, well, what about the frontrunner, Donald Trump? Bernie Sanders versus Donald Trump, how would that work out? According to this poll, Sanders would win 59% of the vote versus Trump's 38%. That would be an epic blowout. That would be amazing. Donald Trump not faring well in the general, in this hypothetical matchup from CNN. Now, of course, I have to give the disclaimer that things can change. You know, we still don't know a lot about Bernie Sanders. I mean, as far as the American public, they're not as familiar with Bernie Sanders as we are. So that could go up, it could go down, favorables, unfavorables. In fact, I've got more information from the CNN poll on those numbers. According to the poll, Sanders has a 23% favorable, 22% unfavorable in the matchup. 41%, however, haven't even heard of the independent senator from Vermont. Very interesting. Now let's look at the favorable, unfavorable when it comes to Hillary Clinton. Now Hillary Clinton has a 45% favorable rating. That's fairly high. However, she has a 48% unfavorable rating. And of course, everybody knows about Hillary Clinton. Only 1% said, I don't know who Hillary Clinton is. I can only assume that 1% was hiding under a rock. I don't know. Now, let's look at Donald Trump. Donald Trump, frontrunner of the GOP, guy that says some very outlandish things, some very crazy things. Well, let's look at his unfavorable rating. Donald Trump, according to this poll, has a 58% unfavorable rating among all Americans. Now you put it towards registered voters, that's somewhere around 57%. Not much different. Still fairly high, in the high 50s. Now, the big problem with Bernie Sanders, and it's also a big advantage that he has so far, this early into the race, is that he does not have name recognition. A lot of people don't know who he is, or what he stands for, or how long he's been consistent on a lot of these issues. Now it's up to responsible news outlets to say, this is what Bernie Sanders is about, this is his record, you decide. This is why he thinks he'd be a good candidate. Basically, it's up to us, up to the media, to give him a platform, just like we give every other candidate. Just like we've been giving Donald Trump a platform. He's been getting a lot of media attention. We know where Donald Trump stands, but a lot of Americans still aren't familiar with Bernie Sanders. As I said, almost half of all Americans haven't even heard of him. But in the places where he has been heard of, where people know who he is, his poll numbers continue to rise. For example, New Hampshire. In the newest NBC Marist poll in New Hampshire, it shows that Bernie Sanders is coming up behind Hillary Clinton and is only 13 points away from her. 47 to 34%. Hillary Clinton still leading the field, but Bernie Sanders, he is closing that gap. Now, if you look back in February, Sanders was only at 13%. Now, he's only 13 away from Clinton. That's an enormous jump. in such a small amount of time. So here comes Bernie Sanders coming from behind. And he's going right after Clinton. But he's actually not attacking Clinton either, which is really interesting because people, I think, respond more favorably to that when you're actually not attacking another candidate, but you're actually going after the issues. And that's what we like about Bernie Sanders. And the good thing is, the positive news to take away from this is that even though he's behind, he's got a lot of room to grow. And also, according to this poll, a lot of people are tired of both Clinton and the Bushes, both families. They don't want to see a dynasty. They don't want to see or hear any more of the Clintons or Bushes. I think they're only going for those because they think they have a better chance at winning. Well, it's that name recognition thing. Well, we know what we're getting from a Clinton. She's got name recognition. She's leading in the polls. So naturally, she's more electable. Even though people are like, ugh. It's like, choosing between Coke and Pepsi is essentially what you have. There's not a whole lot of difference, and we already know them. Now, I said there's not a lot of difference. There are significant differences between them. But overall, they're both influenced by big money. Big corporations. They're going to be friendly to corporations. They're going to be friendly to big business. And on foreign policy, one's going to be more disastrous, obviously, but Clinton is not, I don't think she's going to be that much better. So I think the Coke-Pepsi analogy kind of fits. There are differences, but essentially we're familiar with them. We already know them. We know what we're getting. Maybe people want to try something different. They want to try something new, and that's what this poll shows. Now, the analysis on this is that I think if Bernie can win New Hampshire and Iowa, and he certainly is catching up in New Hampshire, Iowa is having a little bit harder of a time, but it's still early, and if Trump wins those two states, on the Republican side, I don't know if he has any chance of being the Republican nominee, but he is crushing on the Republican side. The people like him because he says what's on his mind. Now, he's wrong, but he speaks his mind. And people like that, especially on the Republican side. They like what he's saying, and they like how he says it, that he don't give no fucks. Right. So, if Trump can win these states, and if Bernie can win on the Democratic side, then we have got ourselves a race. Oh, could you imagine Trump versus Sanders? Oh, man. Establishment heads on both sides would be exploding. And that is kind of awesome.